Hey guys, so today we are talking about the best combination of legends in a team and the best gun combinations in Apex Legends. So let's begin with what I prefer or which legend I love to use, and that would be Bangalore. And the reason it's Bangalore is because
I'm ready all month.
and the reason because of which it is Bangalore is because of the fact that it has a weapon from the beginning itself that allows it to get away from tricky situations and smoke an entire area, even cause 10 damage to the enemy, which can actually be really helpful at times and has actually saved my life quite a lot of times. And as well because of the fact that it has heavy artillery, which is something that I really like and I really feel comfortable with. Alright, so moving on to the legends. So the best legend team that I feel is actually related to two legends. So I feel Bangalore and Bloodhound are the best combination together, and the reason being Bangalore has the ability to smoke an area completely, alright, and can run away from it very fast because of being spotted. And Bloodhound can either use its ultimate, which is the Beast of the Hunt mode, or go for scanning the area and can momentarily reveal the places of the enemies, right? So that can result in smoke being in an entire area and you shooting those enemies even though they can't see where you are, but you can, as your teammate is a Bloodhound or you are the Bloodhound and you know where they were temporarily. That can help you a lot in a lot of tricky situations. For the third legend, I would prefer the team to go with a lifeline. I personally go with Bangalore all the time. I would prefer the team to go with a lifeline, and the reason why I say lifeline is because it's easier to quickly heal and recharge your shields with the lifeline. That is because of the fact that the lifeline has the health drone and you're healing up, and at the same time you can recharge your shields, so you tend to move faster, and you can call in that care package which can give you purple or yellow or level 3 or level 4 armor, and that can help a lot. If not a lifeline, then I would say a Mirage or a Wraith. And that the reason being, a Mirage is really good with the decoys and I really like it, to be honest. And Wraith because a Wraith can get away from situations very fast, and that can result in two people fighting in close combat and one person shooting from a little bit of a distance. That can actually really help and can tell people easily where the enemies are. In case both of them get knocked, the other person is a little bit far off, and the enemy is going to be like, where is the third person in that small specific area itself, while the person shoots from a far distant place. So that can give you a moment's worth of advantage, I guess. So those are the best teams that I would suggest: Bloodhound, Bangalore and Lifeline, and in second place being Bloodhound, Bangalore and Mirage, third place being Bloodhound, Bangalore and Wraith. So let's go for the weapons. Right, so when it comes to the weapon and what I feel the best weapons are, I went with a few different combinations. So one of my favorite weapons in the game is the G7 Scout, and the reason the G7 Scout is my favorite weapon is because of the fact that it can shoot long range, but it can shoot really fast, and it can help in close sticky situations as well. So the G7 Scout with the R301 is actually a really good combination, and the reason being, R301 can shoot in small distances in a really fast pace, but is actually has a single fire mode that can help you shoot in long distances and be accurate. And the G7 Scout can shoot in a very good distance at a very good pace, and at the same time can help you shoot in a fast pace for close by situations. Now another combination that I really like is the R301 with the Flatline. The reason being, Flatline is actually quite similar to the
key to becoming an Apex legend is communication with different locations, objects, and enemies depending on where you're looking. Follow the checklist to cycle through your pings.
Sorry about that. So the Flatline is a really good continuous fire weapon, and it has a capability of firing a lot of shots, and it's a different ammo type altogether than the G7 Scout. So what that does is that increases your chance of finding the ammo that you actually need, or at least ammo for one gun, and that can make a good combination to begin with. In case you don't get light ammo, you at least have one weapon with good ammo that you're comfortable with. In that case, for me, that would be Flatline. So the Flatline also has a continuous fire and a single fire mode, and the single fire mode can be used in a long distance, but you have the G7 Scout for that, so you don't really need to worry. So the G7 Scout with the R301 and the G7 Scout with the Flatline, those are my two favorite combinations. So now moving on to the Spitfire. So the Spitfire is actually a really good gun, and the reason being, it can look at the amount of damage it can do. That is amazing, and it has a good firing range as well. It can fire at a really good distance. That's literally the furthest target in the practice range, and it is actually pretty accurate. It does not have that big a recoil either. So I really love the gun, and with that I would recommend some sort of sniper. So that would be the G7 Scout again, or in fact the Flatline as well. Now the reason I recommend the Flatline is because it has a single fire mode. So when it comes to the single fire mode, the Flatline is actually pretty accurate. And in Apex Legends as a game, I felt that it's mostly close combat with continuous fire rather than ranged combat. So in close combat situations, it's easier to actually go with your Flatline and go for a lot of damage initially, and then switch to the Spitfire and do the Spitfire damage. I feel that is a good combination. Then after that, I like the Hemlock. It's a good gun, and the reason being, it can fire at a distance at a very good place, and it can shoot 3 bullets. I mean, it might be burst and it might have a recoil, but at the same time you get the chances of having a headshot, and you actually have the single fire mode as well, and that's pretty accurate. So I really like that, to be honest. But I prefer the Flatline over that any day. Now, coming to the energy weapons, so the triple take is something actually, ironically, I feel it's better used in short range than long range, and the reason being, it has a lot of damage in the short range. So it can do 69 damage, and it can do that pretty fast. So 2 shots of this in the beginning of the game can result in someone's death if they don't have any armor on. So that is actually a really good weapon, and it can shoot pretty fast. But in the distance, what it is meant for as a sniper, I don't really like the weapon that much because of the amount of spread that it has. Right now it does 69 damage, but I don't use snipers that often, and when I do, they're like for really far targets, and at that time the shots just spread, and the amount of damage that I've done from the triple take is sometimes 16 or even less, which I feel is completely pathetic, to be honest. Devotion is another weapon that I really like, and that's because of the sheer amount of damage that it can do. So that's just like one clip. This entire clip is just one. But the thing is, it has a slightly higher recoil rate than the Spitfire, which is something that I feel is actually better because of the fact that it has a lesser recoil and a faster initial burst, which can really change the game. As you can see here, the Devotion is actually faster at the end of the day, but it takes a lot of time to get faster. Whereas a Spitfire, from the beginning to the end, it's the same thing altogether. Thus, I end up preferring the Spitfire, but if you get the Devotion instead of the Spitfire, I mean, if you can't get the Spitfire, if you just have the Devotion in hand, it is actually a really good gun. So, the best combinations in summary would perhaps be, from my perspective, the G7 Scout and the R301, or the G7 Scout and the Flatline, or the Spitfire and the G7 Scout or the Flatline. and the Devotion and the Flatline or G7 Scout. Those are the best combinations from my end. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe this video, as I'm just starting off as a YouTuber. Yeah, and I just realized, I completely forgot to talk about the shotguns. So the shotguns are not really something that I love in this game, and that's because the only shotgun that I really like, which is the Peacekeeper, cannot do a lot of damage if the target is far. Say for example there, I mean, it's doing 50 damage there, but in game I've seen the Peacekeeper do 20 damage at times, or even less, and that is actually really irritating. And even though the enemy is not that far, that's because the gun shoots 11 bullets together, and in these 11 bullets 2 or 3 of them hit, or not, or say 5 of them hit. Even then, that's not a lot of damage, and for a shotgun that's just bad. And then the amount of time for the next shot is a lot. I feel that the Peacekeeper is not that good a gun, but at the same time it is, it should be noted that the evac auto and the Peacekeeper have one big issue, that the evac auto can't fire at a range. It can't fire at a distant range. I've seen in the case of I standing say here and the enemy standing right about there. I've seen the evac auto, I've taken a shot, and the shot did not even hit the person, and surprisingly I had a Peacekeeper at the same time, and I hit with the Peacekeeper and it did 20 damage at a range, at a decent bit of a range. So I prefer the Peacekeeper when initially in the beginning of the game, when I don't have any other gun and I have two gun options in front of me, which would be the evac and the Peacekeeper. But if I were to carry a shotgun in the game, I would carry the evac auto. And the reason I would carry the EVA 8 auto is because of the fact that it has a good fast fire range, and sometimes when you miss the initial shot, that can actually really save your life. And with the EVA, I would really recommend to go with the Flatline. The reason being, the gun has a good range and it can shoot at a distance, and it can shoot fast. It's good for close range and for ranged combat. So yeah, in summary, that would make the best combination of guns being the G7 Scout with the R301 and the G7 Scout with the Flatline, followed by the Spitfire and the Flatline, or the G7 Scout, or Devotion and the Flatline, and the Devotion and the G7 Scout or the Flatline. And if I were to take a shotgun, I would take the Flatline and the EVA 8 auto. Thank you guys, keep watching. Please do like, share and subscribe, as I'm just starting off as a YouTuber and every bit of it helps. And I'll see you guys in the gameplay.